Welcome to this episode of my podcast, Salon Confidential. And I'm beyond excited. Look who is in my chair today. It's the incredible model, icon, writer. Have I forgotten something? Is Penelope Tree. Welcome. I'm beyond excited to have you here.
Thank you, Andreas. I'm so excited to be here.
That helps at the beginning that we are both
In fact,
excited.
a little bit too excited.
Are you? That's
Yeah,
even better.
you
Get
got
it
my-
all the excitement out. Get all the excitement out. We love that. That's for sure. So, welcome. I hope you are well.
Thank you. I'm really well. Better now that I've got my gin and tonic.
You're the first guest to ask for that. I love that. I should have had one myself. I think people ask me if I've got actually some vodka in that cup of there, but it's actually just water.
I'm
because
very
I mean,
disappointed in you.
the disappointment is real. So let's dive straight into the hair questions because I want to cover a lot, almost other things. Obviously, it's about the hair. So I ask all my guests. The first question would be, who would be your hair icon? Who would you look at and you think that's great hair, or someone you've met and you thought, wow, that is amazing hair?
Do I get a few?
Yes, you can.
Okay, because I mean, when I was 12 or 13,
Yeah.
and I watched Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Yeah.
And that first opening shot of Audrey Hepburn
But yeah.
walking down Fifth Avenue with a croissant and a
Yeah.
coffee, wearing the most incredible Givenchy gown.
Yeah.
And her hair. Let's just talk about that hair.
Yeah.
It was a French
fringe.
twist.
Yeah.
There was a fringe, and there was also sort of really great highlights,
Yeah.
streaks, in fact.
Yeah.
And I just never got over that. I mean, her hair always looked incredible,
Yeah.
and she changed it a lot. So, but she also was so beautiful. So, you know,
And it also was very shiny, always her hair.
very
I
shiny.
always remember that it was that really like shiny hair everybody wants, right?
Right. Well, there was that. Then also, well, we have to mention Amy Winehouse
Yeah.
because she had the greatest hair.
Yeah,
And in fact, I was so impressed by her hair that I went and bought for a fancy dress party, Amy Winehouse wig, which cost 30 quid in this party shop. And it was the most brilliant wig in the world.
Right.
It was completely Amy.
Right.
Anyway, you know, the higher the hair, the closer to God.
That's
and
true.
so that's another one. And then I also thought that watching Celebrity Traitors,
Yeah.
Claudia Winkleman has the most beautiful hair I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so healthy looking.
Yeah.
I love black hair
Yeah.
that's just completely sort of, you know, straight, natural, swings beautifully, has, you know, thickness to
Yeah.
it.
Well, she's got kind of, she copied your look. I mean, you got that iconic fringe and that kind of look. So Claudia copied you.
Oh,
I
well,
guess.
there you go.
Here we go. Would you ever go dark with your hair?
Oh,
Have you ever been dark?
I was dark
Like
originally.
colored or with a wig?
No. I mean, I have dark brown hair originally.
Right.
But, you know, as time goes on,
Yeah.
the sun, you know, sun-kissed
Yeah.
look just has to happen.
Yeah.
So,
But that's what everybody wants. I guess a lot of clients or women, they want to have that sun-kissed kind of hair, that it looks natural. I
Well,
think that's important.
funnily enough, it's sort of better with, you know, with the gray hair. So,
I didn't.
yeah.
I'm glad that you said that now
Okay.
because I didn't want to.
I
bring
thought
up
you were
the
kind of
gray-
like, I thought you were ignoring that.
No, I wasn't.
Very, very important because a friend of mine calls it Knightsbridge blonde.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
So I think I have Knightsbridge blonde, but I prefer to be black hair.
You would prefer to have black
yeah.
hair.
Yes, black glossy hair,
Right.
like Veronica and Archie comics.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
So that
So-
would, oh my God, because I can't imagine you actually with black hair, to be quite honest.
Well-
I mean, obviously for your eyes and for your skin tone, I can imagine it, but I think it does look fresher kind of on you, like less harsh.
You know how you always want what you don't have.
Actually,
So
curly hair, straight hair, all of
Yeah.
that. So, is there like a standout moment, like what you experience, like a mess up with your hair, like something didn't go as well, or something you went like, oh my God, like something.
Quite a few of those.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, first of all, the hairdresser that I worked with Richard Avedon was
Yeah.
called Ara Gallant, and he was a leather queen. He was incredibly funny, and he used to come in the morning at sort of
The leather queen.
he came in at 8:30 in the morning, shaking like a leaf because he'd only gotten to bed at 5:30.
Yeah.
You know, he was up all night,
Yeah.
going out, having a great time.
Yeah.
And then he'd come in, and you really wouldn't know how he could possibly do anybody's hair or anything, even open a door.
Yeah.
And he'd have he said, I just want coffee. I just want coffee. And he'd have a coffee, and suddenly everything would kind of calm down.
Yeah.
And he was the most amazing fantasy hairdresser and incredibly funny. But he set fire to my hair with
Fire?
yes, with tongs. And he couldn't stop laughing.
Did you laugh? No.
Yeah, I did.
But was it your hair, or did you wear a wig? Or
No, I saw flames. And
Oh
my luckily his assistant was very fast thinking, and he threw a cup of tea all over my
Oh my God.
head. And it but the smell, I'll never forget.
There's nothing worse.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse.
So that was bad.
And how much did you burn?
He then had to do a kind of quite important sort of zigzag cut on my hair, which actually didn't look too bad, but it was one of those moments.
Oh my God, it's unbelievable.
No, he couldn't stop laughing.
Well, it's good that he had a good time. He was maybe still pissed from the night before. That is quite. Yeah, I think we've all been there. I think I burned a model's hair once with the tongue, but it wasn't my fault. I had well, it was my fault. I love it that I tried to blame someone else now, but it was actually my fault because I did her hair. But I had too much wax on my hand, and it kind of slipped, and it just kind of rolled, not over her face, but over her forehead. So luckily she had a fringe, but she was not happy.
No.
And nobody was happy. And it's also extremely painful. So I was quite mortified at that moment.
Well, this didn't involve pain. It just involved,
Yeah. Because her is actually disgusting, the smell and all of that when that happens.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's definitely an experience.
Also, I've had a couple of really disastrous perms, one in the 70s and one in the 80s, and I cannot believe I did it twice. That's sort of fashion victimhood at
course.
the absolute, to the max.
Yeah.
And, I just wanted to look like so many other people did in the 70s, which is this fabulous sort of very, very curly hair, like a cloud around my face. No, because my hair is very fine. It doesn't take to those chemicals.
Yeah.
And it just looked like browsy and flousy and,
It didn't work.
And it took a very long time to grow out. Both times. I can't believe I
You
did
went
it
back
twice.
for it.
Yeah.
But perms are interesting. I think they always try to bring it back. There is moments like you would kind of read about it, and suddenly they try to promote it in magazines again. But because when I started hairdressing when I was 16, it was all about perms. So I did all those different techniques and all of that. I hated it because it always took too long. I'm not very. I've got no patience, so that was definitely not. So I'm lucky now I don't have to do color and all of that anymore.
Yeah.
Now, are there any hair hacks? Is there something you would do at home, like to make your hair, like you just know it works when you use something specifically or you do something specifically?
My hair has improved radically since I started putting this sort of, I think it's called Purology.
Yeah.
And it's a sort of softening mask.
Yeah.
And I put it on for a half an hour.
Yeah.
And it just makes my hair so much because I color my hair, it gets all sort of weird at the ends.
Yeah.
And it sort of just calms everything down.
Yeah.
And it feels really good, like my hair used to feel when I was a child.
Yeah.
So
that's
good.
And it's shiny.
Yeah,
and
it's
obviously
shiny.
you've got an incredible haircut.
And I've got an incredible haircut.
Back
And
to me now. Back to me.
It's
No, I'm
true.
joking. But I mean, I've been lucky enough to do your hair for a long, long time now. We met at John Frieda, and since then I was very lucky enough to look after you.
how long have we been together now, darling?
That is happily married Oh my God, it must be like 12, 13 years or something.
Oh, longer than that.
Longer than that.
And I don't even have a ring to,
Oh God, I get you one. After this, I definitely get you one. Now you're asking. But you know what was quite interesting? Obviously, when I prepared myself for our chat, I thought about it, that would I ever do anything else with your hair? Because I think you've got this look, which I love, right? It's the fringe, which is iconic. We vary it sometimes with kind of different length and a few more layers or less layers. How do you feel about that? Like, would you sometimes think, oh, come on, let's do something completely different?
I do feel that. But I mean, on the other hand, that's what wigs are for, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
And I have this very fine hair that is very difficult to do anything with. And every time I've been tempted, it's been a disaster. So I
Right.
kind of, I guess when I get to the age of 80, which isn't that far off,
Yeah.
I'm going to have to do something. But,
But you don't
I'm
have
just
to. I
going to,
think you don't have to. I think that sometimes, I think that sometimes you don't have to do something when you found something which looks still trendy and cool. I don't think you have to really change it, or
well, let's just see.
when you're
Yeah,
80, like we talk about it then. But it's a
exactly.
lot of times also with clients, or like I think I talked about it previously in an episode. It's about when women have very, very, very long hair, right?
Yes,
And I
yes.
think that work maybe. I mean, it still works. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but sometimes I think when women get a little bit older, it's more flattering to have some more face framing or softer layers, or when the hair just moves a little bit more. I think that's quite important when you don't get so stuck in the way your hair always used to be, you know?
True. When you look at pictures of women in their sort of 60s, 70s,
Yeah,
80s, 30 years ago,
yeah,
it was a whole completely different thing. Nobody had
yeah,
longish hair
yeah,
or, sort of natural looking
yeah.
hair. They all went to the hairdresser, teased it,
My
had
God,
these
yeah.
helmets and everything. And I'm so glad that we're not in that era.
I used to love doing hair like that because it's so artistic. I remember when I started to work at John Frieda and I had to go sometimes to Claridge's. We had a salon there, and there were lots of very rich American women, and it was literally the higher the better.
Yeah.
And you put the rollers in, and then you backcomb the hell out of it. And I mean, there was one. The other hairdresser said she can't get it even through the door, and I was like, she looks fabulous. I loved it so, but it was quite big. So, but you just brought up the 60s and all of this, so we need to obviously start. What I'm very interested in is about your career. Obviously,
Okay.
a very iconic model. Are you comfortable with me calling you iconic model? Because I didn't want to call you like supermodel or something. I thought that was more,
It's
I
more
don't know, not,
90s anyway.
that's what
Yeah.
I thought. But I
Yeah.
think obviously you are from that era, which is incredible. And so, how did it all begin? How did you get into that, thrown into that modeling world?
Well, it's sort of a long story because when I was 13, I was coming down the stairs in my parents' house, and I heard this voice,
Yeah,
and it was just a voice I've never heard before. It was very camp, and it was very lisping, and it was like, oh my God, I have to know who is in this voice.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I ran across the hall and into the dining room to see Truman Capote holding forth with Babe Paley and a few other
Oh
women.
my God.
And I've never seen anybody talk like that in my life. And plus the fact that I went to this school where we were, you know, invited to read everything. And I
Yeah,
had read a lot of his short stories and the early novels.
right,
And I loved him.
right.
And so anyway, we had a conversation about writing. I mean, it's so, I can't even believe I did that. It was so
It's iconic. I mean,
pretentious.
that's
But
like,
anyway, I went like, I really like your writing. And he said, oh, and do you write? And I went, yeah, well, I do, as a matter of fact. And he said, oh, well, show me your short stories. And so I can't believe that I sent him my pathetic short stories. But anyway, he's sort of sent back a note saying, you better keep going, you know?
Try a little bit harder, darling.
Yeah, no.
Find another career.
Yeah, no, just, you know, keep going. He told me that when he was around the age of 11, that he started writing, and he wrote 3 hours a day from the age of 11.
Right.
And that was quite inspiring to hear,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
And anyway, I don't know what it was, but 3 years later, I got this invitation to his black and white ball.
Yeah.
And being sort of 16, I thought, well, of course I have an invitation to this ball, not knowing what the ball meant or, you know, who was going.
What did the ball? I never heard of it. I only read about it like when I looked you up, but I never heard of that ball.
Okay, well, it was.
The look like, okay.
It's quite.
No.
It's quite hard to. No, I didn't mean it like that, but it's quite hard to launch into.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
I think it was the first ball where, instead of just like society, you know, all coming together, it was society. It was the European kind of royalty. It was the celebrities from Hollywood. It was TV stars from New York. It was writers. It was, and he put them all together. And that was the sort of first time that a party like that had happened.
Right. Where was it? In New York?
It was in the Plaza Hotel, which was very glamorous at that time.
Yeah.
And I designed this dress with a designer called Betsy Johnson, who was very young and just burst onto the scene. And it was based on dance wear, because I loved leotards and I loved the look of dancers. Not that I danced myself, so it was, again, very pretentious. But so we did this dress, which was based on a leotard, which was had lots of slits and a completely bare back.
Yeah.
And it was black jersey.
Right.
And I put this dress on in the dressing room of Betsy Johnson's sort of atelier.
Yeah.
And I thought, this dress is going to change my life.
Did you really think that?
I really did. Yeah. I just thought, you know, it's an incredible dress. I've never seen anything like this.
But so sorry.
Yeah.
Did you see yourself? What did you think it would change then for you?
I didn't know.
You didn't know. You
just-
didn't
no.
look in the mirror like, oh, I look like a model or something.
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay.
I just thought, it's an amazing dress.
Yeah.
And something's going to happen.
Right.
You know? And so I went to the ball. My parents were at the ball. They were kind of horrified. They hadn't seen the dress before. They were kind of horrified because it was, I mean, nothing compared to the naked dresses of today.
Yeah.
Nothing compared to Kim Kardashian or whatever.
Yeah.
But for then, it was a sort of daring, I
Yes,
suppose. And they hadn't seen it till the night that we went.
Right.
And
Bit better.
yeah. And all these women, I mean, people looked incredible, and they had all the crown jewels out and all the peacock feathers and the, you know, huge headdresses and amazing.
Yeah.
But nobody went sort of simple. And anyway, I went simple, and I was the youngest person there, so nobody really spoke to me, and except Cecil Beaton came and danced with
All
me.
those names. This is unbelievable that you met those people.
And well, it was exciting, except it was also sort of weird because I felt like a wallflower. I didn't know anybody really.
Yeah. Were you confident when you were 16? Were you like kind of confident with yourself?
No, but I was wearing a mask, and that really helps a lot because you feel invisible in a way.
Yeah. Okay.
And the dress made me feel great.
Yeah.
But I didn't really speak to anybody. I saw people like Frank Sinatra and, you know, Mia Farrow, and
Let's just talk about that ball.
Yeah,
It's unbelievable.
It was a great spectacle, but it wasn't sort of fun. And then at 11 o'clock or 11:30, my father comes through the crowd and says, "We're going home now. I'm tired."
The carriage is waiting, Cinderella.
11. I mean, please, but I had to go with him. And then I got home and I thought,
And now,
what
yeah.
the nothing happened. I thought the prince was coming or something.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd be swept off my feet, but nope. And apparently, the ball went on. It was fantastic.
Right.
People had a great time. But
Right.
anyway, I was in bed at 11:30.
Oh, no.
And then at 9 o'clock in the morning, my phone rang. I had a phone next to the bed,
Yeah.
and this voice went, "Darling." And I went, "Hello?" I said, "Penelope, darling." I went, "Hello?" And she said, "I'm Diana Vreeland, and I'm calling from Vogue. And are you free in a week's time? Because Dick Avedon wants to take your picture." And I went, yeah, I guess I can fit that in.
I'm writing short stories at the moment, but I think I can make that happen. But I'm not too busy writing.
Exactly. I'm doing my final exams, but
What
Yeah.
did you think then? Like when that happened, how is it with
just-
16? Like how does that feel?
yeah, I was very, very excited and thrilled.
Yeah.
And, what can you say? I
Yeah.
mean, I leapt out of bed and started dancing, I think,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But also that had its own kind of consequences as well, because it was quite nerve-wracking, as you can
God.
imagine.
Yeah.
And can I really pull this off? I mean, from about the age of 14, I just wore tons of makeup and devised my own makeup.
Yeah.
And so I thought they're all going to see through me because I'm not really what they really want. I'm just a mask,
Yeah.
basically. So I got to the studio, and Dick Avedon was just the most attractive, charming person. And he somehow had this incredible facility for making you feel, first of all, that you were absolutely incredible, beauty,
Yeah.
which I really wasn't. But anyway, he somehow made me feel that I could do anything. So sort of almost right away, I felt at home with him, and we did some test shots. And then I was booked to do a whole story, sort of maybe the next month. And it went
Yeah,
from
but
there.
did you know what to do? Like, I mean, with models, it's so much about their poses or the to kind of knowing how you come across. So, but you just basically
I
the
think the
week
whole
before,
thing is that I didn't know. And I think that
so
really,
you were quite naive
he
about.
quite liked that.
Yeah.
He quite liked the fact that I was a little bit awkward and also, well, a lot awkward
Yeah.
probably. But he just had me do things like walk
Yeah.
across the white paper. He was so encouraging and so enthusiastic. Somehow I lost all my nerves, and I felt suddenly like I was meant to do this,
Right. The
Whether-
answer to the dress. Like to the dress moment when you were like, this is because that's
Yeah.
what I wanted to know. When was that moment when you actually felt like this is something I would like to do or can do or want to do?
Yeah, I felt like I can do this. And, for years at school and things like that, I went to boarding school where I was really unhappy. Lots of things happened that were difficult. And I felt like I didn't, that I was sort of lost. And suddenly I could do something.
Yes. Yeah. Do you want to talk about what happened? What was difficult in school?
I had a little bit of an incident on a Greyhound bus when I was 13 with a sort of guy who was pretty tricky.
Okay.
And it was just not just sort of sexual, but it was also scary.
Right.
I mean, I don't mean just sexual. I mean, it was both sexual and a little bit life-threatening because he had a knife.
I'm so sorry.
But I didn't tell anybody because I thought if I tell anybody, I'll lose my freedom. I won't be able to go on a Greyhound bus to see my friend in, this other state.
Because your parents would have said you're not
Oh,
leaving
yeah.
the house. Or...
Yeah.
Yeah.
They would have said you're staying in your boarding school and you
Right.
can, we'll send a car for you or whatever.
Yeah.
But so I didn't. Yeah, and also I felt quite ashamed. By the way, it happens to, I mean, I don't mean the Greyhound bus necessarily, but I mean, it happens to so many girls.
Yeah.
Pretty much everybody I know has had some sort of really frightening incident
Yeah.
at an early age when they couldn't cope with it. I felt like somehow I should have gotten out of it. I should have screamed. There were a lot of people sitting at the front of the bus.
Yeah.
I was at the back of the bus.
Yeah.
If I'd screamed, it would have been okay, but
Yeah.
I was too scared to
Yeah.
scream. And so that was,
Oh. But how
yeah,
amazing
anyway.
then, how amazing then that you did this shoot with 16 and you kind of, is it to say that you found your confidence then when someone saw you and you know that there was something like, oh my God, I actually enjoy doing this. It must be the moment then, right?
Yeah, it was so great. It was great working with these incredible people. I
Yeah.
mean,
And then people obviously saw something in you and you were really good at it. And then what happened then, like after that Vogue shoot?
so I was at school still. I was in my last year at school. I got into the university that I wanted to get into, which
Yeah.
was very exciting. And then at the same time, I was doing go-sees and,
What's go-sees?
go-sees when you take your portfolio of
Oh,
pictures and you
okay,
go to
okay,
see.
okay.
And a lot of advertising people in advertising agencies and stuff, they would just laugh when they saw me because I did not look like the normal model
Yeah.
at the time. And a lot of people thought I was hideous and a lot of people thought I was great. And that was quite a strange, confusing sort of situation.
My God, yeah.
But anyway, at that point, I was still riding high, and I went to England for the summer that I graduated from high school, and I had a job in a publishing company.
Right.
And I went to a party, and I met Bea Miller, who was the editor of English Vogue, and she said, "Do you want to come by to, meet a photographer
Yeah.
tomorrow in your lunch hour?" So I went. I walked into her office, and there on the floor was this guy sitting cross-legged, looking at contact sheets. And he just looked at me, and I just had this electric shock almost of recognition or something.
Yeah.
It was very strange. And he scrambled up to his feet, and it was David Bailey.
I love the suspense. I was like, silent producer, Phil, light and sound. We're all like sitting there. I can feel it. The whole room goes, who was it? David Bailey sits there. Okay.
And then, I don't know, we had this sort of eye-to-eye contact. It was very intense.
Yeah.
And then he just said to Bea Miller, "She'll do then, love." And, we had this sitting, which was kind of terrifying. It was a bit like being sort of dissected like a frog under a microscope.
Okay.
And at the same time, I had this sort of feeling, I'm afraid, of destiny, I just knew that I was going to be with this person, even though he was married, he had a girlfriend.
Yeah.
He was 12 years older than me.
Yeah. Which is a big age gap. That age.
At that
now when you
age.
are
Yeah.
like 50 and someone is 62, it's a different story. But I think
I never had a boyfriend either.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd never had I was a virgin.
Right.
What could possibly go wrong?
Well, let's find out about that, Penelope. What went on there?
Oh, God. Anyway, so the thing is, he was married. So I was 17. I had this very strong moral thing that you just don't.
Yeah.
So I went back to New York
Right.
and I started university. Then a few months later, I went to do the collections, the Paris collections with Twiggy and
Yeah.
Richard Avedon
Yeah.
and, the whole team. It was a big deal. And
Such a big deal.
then Bailey just arrived in the middle of it in the snow in Paris.
Right. That's romantic.
That was it.
That was it.
That was it. I burned all my bridges
Yeah.
on the spot, basically. My parents didn't ever want to speak to me ever again.
Oh.
No, it was terrible. My friends, whatever. And I ended up going
Because of the age gap?
because they knew that he was like,
Oh.
this womanizer.
Okay.
And
I didn't want to say it. But
yeah.
yeah. But also, were
suddenly-
you actually so aware of, like, because you mentioned Vogue now twice. I mean, a beginning of your career, were you aware how big that was? Because to get into Vogue, it's
Yeah.
a highlight for hairdressers, models, photographers, and you just
I think
just-
being young is sort of a really good protection against things like, being
Yeah.
overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Because even though I was overwhelmed by Bailey, I wasn't overwhelmed by sort of Vogue or
Yeah.
I knew I'd sort of spent time with Mrs. Vreeland, who was just the most incredible person and the best company. And she never made me feel like, a sort of 17-year-old.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
loved young people. She was, fascinated by the Beatles, the Stones, everything
Yeah.
that was happening. And so I used to go and have lunch with her alone, and we just have the greatest time. And I took it for granted, which was crazy.
How amazing that was. But it's a lot of times, it's like when you're in something, like in a moment, you realize after
Yes.
about that moment. I had that where I don't know, even like whatever dinner party, or you meet someone and then it takes me a while to actually realize what happened, because at that moment you just experience it, and then later on you go, oh my God, that was actually quite an important moment in my life. But also then you obviously dived into that kind of sex, drugs and rock and roll. I mean, with all these people you met, you mentioned the Stones and the Beatles, and you met everybody.
Yes, I was very lucky because at the time, Bailey had started to do this book called Goodbye Baby and Amen,
Right.
which was about everybody who was doing anything creatively in the 60s.
Yeah.
And so all these people were constantly in his studio, in our house, coming up for drinks,
So you
whatever.
you moved in then with Bailey at some
I moved
point.
in there because, oh, by the way, he'd sort of broken up with his
I
wife.
did. That was my other question.
Sorry about that.
When did
Yeah.
when did he drop
I
the
didn't
wife?
I didn't just suddenly...
You had a threesome relationship then. We just moved in.
No, I mean, things moved a lot faster, it seems, in
Yeah.
those days. But, he
Yeah.
had split up with his wife. He split up with the girlfriend.
It was iconic what happened then with that you were everywhere and you were kind of like the face of the 60s.
But there were lots of faces of the 60s, let's face it. And also,
But I mean in the modeling world.
yes,
like,
but it wasn't the same as it is now. Like, for instance, we weren't paid very much at all.
right.
I mean, I think it was $12 an hour or something.
Oh, okay.
For editorial and $60 an hour for
Right.
advertising,
Okay, wow.
which was really, models weren't rich. And
Right.
they also, the paparazzi thing didn't really happen. So, we had we had a really great life in terms of we traveled a lot to places that you wouldn't necessarily have gone
Yeah.
in those days.
Yeah.
Sort of remote places in India, remote places in...
Which is amazing. I mean, the experience and all of that.
You could go away with the hairdresser and the fashion editor.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
For 3 weeks to places like Zambia or,
And the money they must have spent
Nepal.
on those productions and all of that.
yeah.
I mean,
Well, this is why Mrs. Vreeland was eventually dismissed.
yeah, I watched the documentary, and when she didn't like something, she would just reshoot it all. And then they were like, but we spent that thousands of dollars on it. And then she wanted to do it again or somehow different.
Yeah.
So, which is obviously then incredible. So then you also was need to talk about your book, A Piece of My Heart, right? Which I think it's an incredible read. And I remember when you talked to me about it, I thought it's going to be because I said to you, I think at some point, you need to write about your life, right? And you said right from the beginning, oh, I'm not so sure about that. If I want to do it in a different way. So talk to me about how did it all happen with A Piece of My Heart?
Well, I think for many, many years, some of the things that happened to me as a model and before I was a model and just afterwards, I hadn't really digested properly,
Yeah.
and things still worried me, and I felt like I'd made a terrible mess of everything.
So you blamed yourself a lot.
Well, I mean, who else, really? Yeah, I mean, I went into a relationship with somebody who was much older, but I had no idea who I was myself. So I had no sense of identity, and I gave up my entire identity
Right.
to be with him. And it's not his fault, by the way.
Yeah.
It was something I did willingly
Yeah.
because I wanted to kind of, I don't know, be somebody's sort of everything. And so I gave up my own kind of center, I think. And so it took me a long time to regain that.
Right.
And every time I look back, I thought, oh God, I made such a mess, and it wasn't a comfortable feeling.
Yeah.
And so I've always wanted to write about it. And so at the age of 60, when I found myself alone after a rather disastrous breakup, I sat down and I thought, well, what else am I going to do? And I started writing this novel. And the reason I wrote it as a novel is because, well, that old adage, if you can remember anything from the 60s, you weren't there.
Right. Yeah. And you can hide. You can also hide a little bit behind the novel if it's not your autobiography, where you kind of obviously have to stick more to facts. Which I think listening to you and knowing you, like the book is a lot about facts. What you just said about the way you saw yourself when you were 13, and that's in the book, and so it's quite about you, your life. So it's quite true.
But I wanted to condense it into a kind of story that didn't go over like 10 years or something like that. I wanted to be a story that had a resolution.
Yeah.
And because, in fact, as time went on, I was able to resolve a few of those the things that felt very kind of unfinished. But I wanted to be able to do it in writing. I don't know. I can't. It was just something I had to do.
Yeah.
So I felt like it would be more adventurous to do it as a novel.
Yeah.
And also I wanted to get the feeling of the 60s in there. I
Yeah.
wanted to get sort
Which
of
it feels like it.
characters dialoguing
Yeah.
and things.
Yeah.
And that's sort of not a memoir type of,
Yeah.
thing, really. So, yeah, I'm glad I did it that way, although I'm sure there's advantages to writing a memoir.
Yeah.
But I thought it would be more fun.
Yeah, no, and I hope they're gonna make a movie out of it or they make a series out of it because I remember like at the beginning of the book you go to London with your friend, you skip school and then you go to this nightclub and I actually felt, just to basically confirm what you just said, I felt like I was there.
Really?
Sense. No, I really could because the way it was described, I was with you in that nightclub and with the boys who then you went to this after party and
Right.
all of that. So I think that's what I loved about it. It takes you there.
Yeah, well, the interesting thing for me is that writing that book changed my memories of the time. And I see that whole period in a completely different light. And I see that there was so many things that I learned at the time, which I hadn't really processed, but once I'd gone through the agonizing 7-year experience of writing, I came out the other side and saw my life in a different light.
And how did you find the title? A Piece of My Heart. How did you find that?
Oh, it's from a Janis Joplin song, which I'm not going to sing. But you'll
Please
be
do. Please do. We all
relieved.
join in. You know the song. We all join in. I'm not. I'm saying.
No, it's she's sort of shrieking, just take another piece of my heart now, darling.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's about your heart being chipped away
Yeah.
bit by bit because you're not being true to yourself,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. So that is, yeah, that's amazing. I mean, it's such a fitting title, I think, for
Oh,
the book.
good.
So that's amazing. You stopped modeling. At one point, you told me you moved like, or you went to this island for like 6 months. Or is that true?
The whole thing of not really being myself and
Yeah.
not actually doing what I needed to do
Yeah.
to grow up meant that I was kind of at war with myself, and I got this skin illness, which was like giant acne. And it was not only painful, but humiliating because
Especially as a model. I mean,
as a model, the worst thing you can imagine.
bad anyway, but
Yeah.
as a model, it's so much about skin and all of that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I had by this time completely lost all my confidence because, well, he was allowed to work with anybody he wanted, and girls just flung themselves at him because he was so attractive and so fabulous and creative and cool. And but I was not really allowed to work with other people. And so
He was quite controlling over your career and life.
yeah. So that was not easy. And also, I don't know, I was very unhappy. It's sort of 4 or 5 years into the relationship. I should have left, but I didn't know how to. And also, kind of because I'd burnt so many bridges with my parents and
Right.
friends and things like that, it was hard to sort of say I made this gigantic
Right.
mistake.
Yeah, that's the most difficult thing to say in life, huh?
Yeah. Anyway, I got this skin thing and it destroyed my career. So at the age of 21 or 2, I could no longer work because I had these big scars, ice pick scars in my face. And it was, pretty painful experience.
Yeah.
And it sort of, we split up, because
Yeah.
he couldn't even imagine being with somebody who wasn't absolutely perfectly beautiful.
God.
So that was also terribly painful.
Yeah.
And anyway, then I did lots of other things, and I went on a boat for 6 months.
Yeah,
in
that's
this,
what yeah, the boat, yeah.
which was just a sort of chance thing. I went on a 32-foot catch down South America and
Right.
through the Panama Canal and
Traveled a lot, huh? I mean,
traveled a lot.
so how would you describe your healing process now after all, like the disaster things happened in your life, what you described, which
Yeah.
were equally horrific and obviously it must have been very traumatic for you. How would you describe that now? Like, what did you do or what happened or like how was that journey of healing for you or transformation?
Well, it's been a long process.
Yeah,
It's been a really long process, but I mean, having children,
yeah,
moving to Australia, a completely different place, and
yeah,
sort of a whole new outlook on life. Encountering Buddhism really helped me tremendously find a kind of path in my life, which
inner peace.
well, I don't know. No,
No?
it's not necessarily about inner peace.
Okay.
It's about so many things, and it's not necessarily about happiness. It's about being aware, I think. Basically, I realized that, hello, it's not all about appearances.
Yeah,
It's not about the way I look or the way the world looks. It's about, your, awareness, being
Yeah.
aware of
and
what's
confidence
going
and
on
love yourself.
and being interested in
Yeah.
other people.
Yeah.
And, what I've discovered is, hello, everybody has, lots of challenges
Yeah,
in their
yeah,
lives,
Yeah, very true.
And the challenge that I had was big for me, but it sort of pales in comparison to lots of people's experiences. So, I think I feel lucky that I did have the chance to, get therapy, to move to another country where I
Yeah.
felt free and open. And also, my friends have
Yeah.
been such a great boon in my
Yeah, it's a big
life.
part, huh?
People who didn't really give a shit
Yeah.
about modeling and,
Recently, you did the Fendi show in Milan. You walked that.
Oh, yes.
How that was two years ago, I think, or something. Or
I think I did it. Did I do it this year or?
oh no, it
Yeah,
was
no, I
definitely
did do a Fendi this year.
Oh, you did it again then.
Yeah.
So how does it feel now to come back, like with all those young models? Or, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
coming back into that fashion world where we are now with social media, and how do you feel about it? Do you still love it, or do you really excited about, or how does that feel?
It is really exciting to do these
Yeah.
big shows.
Yeah.
I've done about 4 or 5,
Yeah.
and in the old days, you'd be about 12 models, let's say, and you'd have 6 different changes of clothes.
Yeah.
So you'd go on the runway, and
Yeah.
then you'd go backstage, and then everything would be coming off and
Yeah.
like throwing your clothes to
Yeah.
the floor and whatever. And there'd be people helping you, and there was
Yeah.
a lot of screaming and whatever.
Yeah, I
Now
about
there's 100 models, which is unbelievable.
and one look.
And
Yeah.
one look.
Yeah.
And it's so much easier.
Yeah.
And what happens is often that you have to stand sort of in a line for at least a half an hour or an hour before the show begins.
Yeah.
You have to kind of like,
Yeah.
and then sort of slowly inch your way
Yeah.
to the front. And I've just had such a good experience with other models, talking to them
Yeah.
about their lives. And
But that's
Wow.
quite fascinating because that's what I asked you before. It's like, so now you basically are back into modeling. I would, in my head, I would be like, why would you ever want to model again after what you've been through and all of that? You know what I mean? It's like, why would you want to go back into this world? But the way when you talk about it and the way you describe it, it's changed a lot, obviously. But also now I'm obsessed with having like older models, or yeah, it's just a different world now in the world of fashion, you know. But
Yeah.
and you feel obviously very comfortable and happy to do it again, or being out there again.
Well, it's a fun way to earn a little bit of
Yeah,
extra
more
cash.
than what was it, $16 or $12?
Better than $12 an hour.
Yeah.
And things have really changed in that direction.
Yeah.
So that's great.
Yeah,
Working again with creative people, I
Yeah.
find great. I love being part of a team.
yeah,
And I've really enjoyed most of the shoots and the
Yeah.
runway modeling that I've done. It's been really fun. And, but they know that they're getting a 75-year-old. So I don't kind of compare myself to younger people anymore, because I just figure, well, if they know
that's
that,
me.
then,
Yeah,
there's nothing I can do about that.
Yeah.
And
But
so,
I find it beyond refreshing, and I love it when I see you in a magazine, and when I was really like I was like all excited and quite overwhelmed by when I saw you walking that runway. I was like, oh my God, there she is, and I do her hair, so I was very happy. And I
Oh,
think
thank
I'm very happy for you as well, because it feels like that not only that you've grown, but you got the confidence that you actually went back into this world of modeling, you know, and what comes with it. And it's not all about the money and all of that, I guess, but it's about just doing it again and also being the icon again. I mean, maybe you don't like me saying that, but it's like people know you. You know, they go, it's Penelope Tree from the 60s, you know, from the face and all of that. So I think it must be quite, I would be very flattered if I'm invited with 75 and they go, oh, do you remember me, Andreas wife? I mean, it must be, I find it very exciting.
well, I do feel honored, actually. And also, it's just a full circle moment, I suppose, and
Yeah.
it's one of those things that don't often happen to people to get the full circle
And realize it's a full
experience,
circle.
and also realize it's not really a big deal,
Yeah,
compared to real life,
Yeah.
which is much tougher
Yeah.
and more difficult,
yeah.
at times anyway. And
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
but I think this is actually, I mean, listen, I mean, as I said to all my guys, I could sit here now and talk to you for months, because I really, it is so fascinating to find out more. But I think what you just said, it's the perfect ending to our chat. It's the full circle, and I'm very glad for you that you get to experience it and that you're aware of it. So I'm very happy for you.
Thanks,
That you
Andreas.
have
Well,
the full circle.
I didn't really get to talk about how, thrilled I am to be, your client.
It's not about that. It's not. Well, I guess you could. You can talk about that. Please talk about it.
Because I've come across, I'm not oiling up to you.
Please do. I don't
No,
mind.
no, because otherwise I wouldn't be here, still be here. But, I have encountered quite a few hairdressers in
Yeah.
my time.
Yeah.
And I really know when somebody knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
And you really know what you're doing.
Thank you.
And you have sort of a magic touch in that. I don't know. I always feel like I trust you, which is also quite rare, because a lot of hairdressers, I don't know, you just feel like they don't really quite get you, and you took the, took the trouble to kind of get who I was without
a
even,
trouble.
well, you sort of, I don't know, we laugh a lot, but
Yeah.
underneath all that laughter, you're quite sensitive,
Yeah.
aren't you?
Oh my God! Now I feel like I could cry now. I don't even know why. I to be honest, I find it very, very difficult when people talk about me. Everyone would disagree with that. Everyone thinks I love to be center of attention and I love all of this. But when you really know me, it's actually not the truth. So I find it quite difficult to listen to you now. But like, I'm really appreciative, obviously. Of what
My
you're
favorite
just saying.
Bette Midler line is, "That's enough about me. What do you think about me?" Right?
So yeah, no, I'm glad I found out that it's like what you think of me. So thank you so much. That was an absolute delight. I hope you enjoyed yourself.
I did. Thank you very much.
Fantastic.
So-
And
yeah.
yes, and I'll see you soon for your next haircut.
Yay.
Thank you
Okay.
so much,
Thank
Penelope.
you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for the gin and tonic too.
No
That
problem.
really
Anytime.
helped.
Anytime. Thank you.